All right, now, you brought up Paul Pierce, and I want to ask you about him, Antoine,
Mhm.
because I've been in arguments with folks of how
Mhm.
I believe Paul Pierce is actually underrated all time. I don't think he gets the same love as a lot of his peers who played at the same time as him. And so I have to ask you this with your basketball mind. From a scoring perspective, when you look at Paul Pierce, you look at present day, Jayson Tatum, and then we'll go to the past, Larry Bird. All these great Celtics, Pierce, Tatum, Bird. From your eyes, who's the better scorer? Can you break down their games for me? Tatum, Pierce, and Bird. Who's the better pure scorer out of those three?
Um, I would probably say Paul, and the reason why I say that, he has an uncanny ability to get to the basket, get fouled. I've had games where Paul shot 15, 20 free throws in the game because he's so physical and uses his body real well. Great mid-range game. So I would put Paul one. Um, I would put Tatum two, because the way he scores the basketball. By extending it with the 3 point shot. I don't think Paul was a great call. Paul was very capable 3 point shooter.
Mm-hmm.
I think Jason's a little bit better 3 point shooter than me and Paul. I don't know the percentages off the top of my head, but that's just me. The visual and me watching Jason over the years, I think he's a that type of scorer. He doesn't post up a lot. And then Bird, only reason I got Bird three, Bird was more of a triple threat. And what I mean by that, Bird was going to get you a triple double. He had great vision. He can get others involved. Obviously, we know he's the better 3 point shooter of the three guys. Um, so that's why I got that. I just think Bird didn't create a lot off the dribble like these guys do because he was able to. He had a great 15 to 25-foot range jump shot, so he
Right.
didn't have to do that as much as these guys. And he wasn't obviously as athletic. Bird was semi-athletic early in his career, but he can, everything else was one dribble pull up, two dribble pull up, catch and shoot. So I would go in that order. I would go Paul, Jason, then Bird.
Um, I keyed in on something you said about Tatum. You said he
Mhm.
doesn't go to the post enough. He doesn't use his post up game enough. This is something I've also said, Antoine, and I've noticed about his game. I think Jason Tatum's offensive bag is so deep, so versatile. On any given night, he can go into that bag and he can cook you offensively. But what I've noticed is I would like to see not only more post up that you mentioned, but I also think he settles too much for jump shots. I want
Mhm.
him at his size to attack the rim a little bit more, go to the cup a little bit more, look for the contact, get to the free throw line. When you watch Jayson Tatum, do you feel as though we are watching an MVP? Should he get more consideration for MVP? We understand Jokic is just on another level right now. But I mean, consistently, Tatum's doing this every night. He may not put up the numbers, in terms of the 60-point, 70-point game of some of these other guys. But I believe his game's versatile. He passes, he rebounds. Do you feel as though Tatum is an MVP? And what would you like to see more from his game? Do you kind of see it the same way as I do?
I definitely believe he could be an MVP in this league, but I think also you got to look at Jason's team. They got the best record in the league. He's played with another guy who's been good as good as him and Jaylen Brown. So I think sometimes we get a little torn a little bit on how good Jason is because he does have a counterpart like Jaylen Brown to play with. Um, That's probably the only thing I think is missing. I would like to see him use his body and punish people a lot more because he has such a good jump shot, a good mid-range game. You can get into a situation where you settle a lot. But I think as you evolve as a player and you get better and better, you add things to your game. And when that jump shot is not going, he has the ability where he can literally go post up, use his body, his size, and get fouled. So if it was one thing missing from his game, I would love to see him do that. When the jump shot is not going, when things are not well, use your body, go to the foul line. Let's have some of them games where you get to the line 10, 12, 15 times a game. Make the game easier for yourself. And I think as he evolves as a player, and he's not a young player, he's in his prime. He's had a lot of early success. These are things that he could continually add to his game. So hopefully the coaching staff um, sees that, breaks down film with him, and shows him where he could be more effective on the offensive end.
Definitely. I started the show by saying the Celtics should, knock on wood, be able to walk through the Eastern Conference if you look at this, Tuan. Both Giannis
Mhm.
and Dame are hurt for Milwaukee. We understand Embiid far from 100%. Knicks, Magic, Cavs, all tough teams, very good defensive teams, give a lot of effort, but they're limited offensively. Meanwhile, the Pacers don't play any defense at all. So I just feel like it should be the Celtics' time now to get back to the finals. Do you agree with me, A? And B, what advice would you give to this team? I mean, if you're in that locker room, what are you telling these guys to stay focused, get through the Eastern Conference, get to the finals, and win another banner, Antoine?
Well, I think obviously they got their wake up call. Losing that game, obviously, without Jimmy, we know Jimmy's not playing the series and losing that game. I think it's that wake up call. The focus and attention that you got to have. You got to respect every opponent. Um, this is the playoffs. Everything's not going to be a sweep. Teams are going to play hard. Sometimes teams are going to feed off being at home and the emotion of the crowd, and they may be able to get a game. But it's about staying focused, um, having one common goal, defensively knowing what you got to get done. And the offense take care of itself. When I look at the Celtics, they've been one of the best offensive teams, if not the best offensive team all season long. It's about locking in defensively, understanding your assignments, and understanding the goal. Some nights are not going to be pretty, and
Mm-hmm.
teams are fighting. You know, you don't have to sweep everybody. When we won the championship, the Chicago Bulls took us 6 games
Mm.
the first round. The second round, we won in 5. Then the Eastern Conference Final, we won in 6. We won the championship in 6. This is playoff basketball. It's going to be serious. You got to be able to respond. I love the way they responded
Yeah.
last night and getting the win. Um, Everything's not going to be because you didn't sweep them. Then you're not doing the right. That means you're not playing good. No, this is the playoffs. Guys step their game up. Guys are going to play better. And they just got to understand that the mission is to win the championship. How can we win 16 games? That's what you want to do. The goal is to win 16 games. And that's what the Celtics should be focused on.
I'm not going to lie, Twan. You got me fired up. You sound like a coach right now, so I need some advice for Joe Mazzulla, too. Let's keep the advice train going. Give some advice to Joe Mazzulla because, Antoine, look, you know more ball than me. I am very curious to hear your breakdown of this. But when I watch this team, a lot of times, especially against a great coach like Eric Spoelstra, I mean, I'm sitting
Mhm.
here yelling, Joe Mazzulla, can we get a whiteboard out? Can we get a play called up? Can we dial something up? Can we make some adjustments? Can you give some advice to Joe Mazzulla? I mean, what do you see in terms of him coaching the Celtics team?
Well, let me first say this. He's coaching against the best coach in the NBA. Eric Spoelstra has done more with less than anybody that's coached in the NBA. The runs that he's had over the last 4 or 5 years with really only having one superstar, we got to tip our hat to him and what the job he's done and been as competitive as they are and the finals run that they made as well. So I want people to understand that Joe is going against, if not the best coach in the NBA, he's arguably the top 5 to ever coach in the NBA. That's how much respect I have for Eric Spoelstra. So I want to say that before. I just think, Joe's had experience. Obviously, when he first got the job, it was kind of thrown at him, and they was able to make a deep run to get to the finals. He'll get better and better. He knows what he's doing now. He's been in enough game situations and understands what he has to do. This is the time you rely on your stars, man. This is not the time you play 10, 12, 11 guys. And I'm not saying the Celtics cannot do that, but this is the time you lean on the Jayson and Jalen. This is their time. This is the time for your superstars to step up. They got great veterans, Al Horford. You got Holiday. You got guys that have been there before who have made deep runs in the playoffs. So they have all the ingredients to win an NBA championship. And it's going to be hard. You're going to go through some adversity, which they did by losing that game. Always stay the course. Make the adjustments when you have to make the adjustments. And every matchup is going to be different. And take advantage of that. You're not going to be able to play every team the same way. That's one thing about the playoffs. You're not. You're going to have to make game-to-game adjustments. Certain guys off your bench play well against certain teams.
Right.
Certain guys on your bench play well at home. They may not play as well on the road. All those things are the key factors, but the main thing has to be the main thing, and that's your 2 superstars. Ride those guys to death, and they're young.